The number one challenge with social media content is not being that annoying parrot, the one that sits on your shoulder and and instead being the wise owl. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's a fundamental change in how we do social media content. Welcome to the Authentically Social Podcast. My name's Corey Perlman, and I'm here with my wife, Jessica Perlman. In the past, it was perfectly acceptable to pay no attention to what's going on behind the curtain. But today, that's exactly what your audience wants to see. This podcast unpacks tried and true principles to put culture, community, and connection at the core of your digital strategy. Let's get going.
So our authentically social principle for today is be less like the squawking parrot and more like the wise owl. And the mantra that we want you to keep in mind is you're going out, you're taking this information to your business, posting on social, doing your content creation. Just keep this mantra in the back of your mind. Create consistent, compelling content. Ask yourself, am I creating consistent, compelling content? So let's dive right in, talk a little bit more about that.
It's a lot of C's, right? Consistent, compelling content, but it's a good way to remember that, maybe you can stick that up on your keyboard, your phone or whatever, but, always ask yourself if you're adding value. So just the kind of the origin of these two birds, or I think they're birds, is it was a solid decade ago. My friend Joe Hart, the CEO of Dale Carnegie, was in one of my sessions, and I guess I said that, and I didn't remember saying that. And then, fast forward 10 years later, Joe, we were talking about social media, and he said, "I just don't want to be that darn squawking parrot." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "The squawking parrot. You said it. You said don't be that annoying squawking parrot." And I said that. I had no idea that I had said that, but it stuck with him for so many years. So I started saying that after that, because it's a good, just mental picture for all of us to remember of that, those two different kind of, opposite birds. You got the parrot, no offense to parrot lovers. This is not, it's just an analogy. Don't take offense to it, but just, the one that just constantly is just talking about one thing in particular. And then the other bird is more, thought-provoking. It's more interesting. It asks questions. It's more, thinking about the audience as opposed to itself. And that's the bird that we want to listen to more. So that's really where the two birds came from, the owl and the squawking parrot. And the number one thing I see with the squawking parrot in particular is it's one thing over and over again. And typically it's promoting our products or services. So you go to a social media channel like Facebook or Instagram, and all you see literally is a billboard, or maybe it's a brochure, and all you see is products or services, and there's nothing else. And what we've been talking about a lot with our clients and our audiences is creating a story. That's what social media is really about, is creating a narrative about not just your products and services, but who you are, who your customers are, who your community is, just all kind of entangling all of this into your digital story. And so that's one aspect. And then the other aspect of just switching from the parrot to the owl is just really seeking to add value. We try in every post that we create on behalf of our clients is this of value? Is it helping? Is it serving? Or is it self-serving? It's okay if every once in a while it's self-serving. I mean, yeah, we got to promote, we got to do some of that stuff, but is it always self-serving, or are we serving our audience? That's the key.
I think of with the squawking parrot too, like you were saying, where the owl is sharing value. Like the owl to me seems very peaceful and calming and almost like Yoda, I'm listening to you, I'm addressing your needs. And the squawking parrot is just annoying. And when I think of that squawking parrot, especially in the promoting category, I think of selling their things over and being very salesy, kind of sleazy, like the car salesman online comparison. And with the owl, we're thinking more of isn't it like Gary Vaynerchuk, who says jab, jab, right hook, give me value, and then maybe talk to me about how I can get involved with your products or services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with you. So we've kind of hit on one clear aspect, which is overselling. But there are some other aspects to that we feel are kind of in the annoying parrot category. One is, I hate that I still have to talk about this, but when we polarize our content and we side, most of the time it falls on politics or political posts, that type of thing. And, you're going to frustrate or piss off 51% or 49% of your audience in the US. Well, probably all over the place. I mean, everybody's very split. It's a very hot topic, but, politics isn't the only thing. It might be, something that's going on in your community. It might even be, we have some clients that are in Alabama, and they have two very polarizing football teams there, Alabama and Auburn. And so if you pick one, you could, frustrate or annoy the other half, and if you strategically want to do that, by all means, go ahead and do that. But just recognize that you are putting off some people if you take a stand on a certain topic or a certain team in that case, or whatever the case may be. So that's just one area to think about. And we definitely think about that a lot with our own content and with our clients' content as well.
One category that we talk about with the Squawking Parrot is like the frequency in which you post your content. So can you talk a little bit about that, like how that might look like a Squawking Parrot versus the wise owl?
Yeah. So probably the number one question I get around this topic is frequency, because people think, if I overpost, that I'm definitely being the Squawking Parrot, which in some ways is true. I think what I tend to tell people is they get so caught up in, how many days should I post? Is posting more than once a day too much? And most often the answer is no. And the reason that is because the chance of someone seeing a specific post is very low. So, right now, you and I are shooting this video, and there's lots of business pages that you and I are connected to that are posting content out there that we'll probably never see. So the chance is very low. So you don't have to worry so much about someone just being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe ABC Company is posting so much. If you're posting once a day, even twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. In fact, for a lot of our clients, that's what we do: once in the morning, once in the afternoon. And we've never really had an issue with that. Where it does start to teeter over to the Squawking Parrot is what I call cluster posting. And that's if people post too often at the same amount of time. So sometimes you'll batch post, or you'll do 2 or 3 posts within, a short amount of period. And that can fill up somebody's newsfeed and cause them to be like, am I following this? Sometimes I'll go to Instagram and it'll be like 6 posts from a business, and it'll remind me like, is this of value enough for me to follow this person? It might even motivate me to unfollow. So that's the one time that I've seen where a frequency of posting has gotten to the point where people may feel like they need to unfollow.
Another category, it's funny because all the Squawking Parrots are like the PPP, cluster posting. Avoid that. Over promoting, avoid that. What about just like phoning it in? What do you think about that as far as the parrot and the owl? What would be your examples there?
Yeah, I like the PPP. That's good. Phoning it in. That's another common mistake that we see, is that it's just, businesses feel like they got to be there and they're just checking the box. So examples are, syndicating articles, posting white papers, and just really not putting a thought behind it. One easy thing that we see when we audit social profiles a lot is there's no context to the post. So even if you're posting a valuable article, tell us why you think it's valuable, right? So it doesn't look like it's literally just regurgitating articles over and over and over again, but there's some thought behind why we're posting this article or this white paper or whatever it might be. So that's a clue into whether or not you're quote unquote phoning it in. If you're just on autopilot with your social, yes, it's good. You have a presence out there, and hey, I think that's better than not. But if you're trying to move the needle, meaning if you're trying to get a desired result, like clicks to a website, calls to a phone, emails, text, whatever your deliverable or call to action is, you need to think through what you're posting. We often talk about quality over quantity. Instead of worrying so much about being there every single day, make sure that each post has some value behind it. And I challenge you to put your unique perspective behind it. So why did you think this particular piece was valuable? Or if you were in a situation, say with a client, maybe you're getting off the phone, or you were reading something and you felt something was of value maybe to your audience, you go out on social and you say, hey, I just got off the phone with a client and they were asking me blank question, and I wanted to make sure I provided that answer to you as well. And I think people will really appreciate that.
I think too, with the phoning and in aspect, there's just, like you were saying, it's there's a lack of connection there than with the business or the person that you might be following. Like, you don't feel any connection to them. You just can feel that it's just like information they're putting out there. They're not looking to build that community. They're not looking to build that connection with you. And then, as you mentioned, then it doesn't move the needle, because they haven't built that good foundation with the people that they're talking to, their audience. I guess what would make people compare your content to like a Squawking Parrot? We talked about lack of value, over promotion, posting too frequently. Talk a little bit about maybe posting a little bit too long. Like, is there a limit on, because I do feel like it goes back and forth these days. You should write all this content and, separate it with, or you should just do bullets, or, so it does feel like sometimes knowing where the marker is on how much content you should be putting out there in a caption. I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I definitely think, sometimes we say the TLDR, too long didn't read, or don't read, or whatever that is. It's just a reminder that, sometimes a long form article, blog post, status update can turn into a video, and it can just be much more engaging or entertaining. So anytime I see, a social post that is paragraphs, I typically tell folks, they're not reading that. We're scanning, man. We are scanning. So either bullets, like you mentioned, over paragraphs. So that's a nice way if you are creating written content to make sure that people can scan and still digest the information. And not feel like, they have to read. It's kind of like paragraphs are almost non-existent in the social media world. And then to your point, going back to connection, I just think video, I talk a lot about video. I think it's just a huge wave of the future. It already is here, but it's going to continue to be here. And if there's one thing that you can do more of in 2022 and beyond is create video, and partly because it does create that connection. I think about like some of our travel advisor clients, those that help travelers go to different destinations. Reading about Tahiti versus hearing you talk about Tahiti is a night and day difference. You can hear it in their voice. You can feel it when they communicate about, the hotels and the destinations and all that kind of different thing versus reading it. So I just think video brings it to life, and it brings that connection and makes you more of a wise owl than a Squawking Parrot.
So that's a good transition because, I think we've heard enough from the Squawking Parrot. The wise owl, let's talk a little bit about those key points. And those are really like, instead of the P's, it's the E's. What I've noticed, it's like looking for education. Are you educating me? Are you engaging with me? Are you entertaining me? And then are you empowering me? Like, are you creating a sense in myself to go do something, make a difference, or go contribute in a new way?
Yeah, good point. So we talked about the parrot enough, like you said. And so what are some of the things to be the wise owls? So you said the 3 E's, educating. So, am I adding value? Am I enriching? I always talk about, can you be a guide along the journey for somebody from research mode to buy mode? So when they are looking to buy that product, looking to use that service, even if they use you or somebody else, how can you make sure that they arrive at the right decision? What that does is it builds credibility, it builds trust, and inevitably, most of the time, it closes the sale. Honestly, it's an indirect way of closing the business. So that's that E. Entertaining, you mentioned, that's another one that this is social media. It's social by definition. So people are there to take breaks, to relax, to socialize. So seeing business stuff all the time leads back to that Squawking Parrot. So we've got a lot of clients that like to pepper in some fun, some education. Some entertainment, some liveliness. This could be a funny meme. This could be, a short video that, connects. I will say that I tend to like when the humor does connect back with the brand or the industry in some form or fashion. I think that looks smart on your part, and as opposed to just randomly throwing in stuff and people like, what is this page about? They get a little confused. So having that thin line of connection, an example of that, we have a RV industry is a client that I spoke with recently, and they have memes about the challenges of like backing up an RV and parking it right, and that whole thing. And so there's funny stuff out there that of course correlates directly to the RV industry. So that, that's an example there. So I think that entertaining, and then you said enriching or empowering, that, I think all those are good. You bringing out kind of inspiring, making people feel good, I think is all good. The other E that I like to use is encourage, which is instead of outwardly selling, it's indirectly selling your value. An example of that would be like a testimonial, a good quality video or written testimonial from a client, a happy customer, indirectly sells the value. So instead of selling, we are encouraging, which is that 30 that I highly recommend.
So it's really about the wise owl, like always adding value, right? And so some things to consider or questions you might ask yourself as you're thinking about, well, how can my business add value? What can I do? What problems can you solve? What information can you pass along that will truly benefit others? Like you said, how can you put a smile on your followers' faces? Being the light and the sometimes dark space of social media, and how can you inspire, entertain, educate? We covered those. I'd like you to tell a story about a client of ours that we worked with. And you mentioned like briefly how their information came more to light whenever they shared it in a different medium, right? So can you talk a little bit about that? And I'm talking about the periodontal client that we have.
Yeah, this is a good tee up. I knew where you were going with that. So, we've got a group of periodontal clients. So they do, they treat gum disease. They do dental surgeries kind of beyond what a dentist refers these patients to these guys and gals when they need it. And when we got to them, they have a wealth of information. They are truly thought leaders and experts in their field. And so what we tried to do with them is to get on social and help people, especially when we were going through COVID and a lot of people were delaying their appointments and such, we would help them help their patients keep their gums and their mouth and their teeth healthy between appointments. And we do that through interviews. So we'd pick a topic such as, treating gum disease, or such as bad breath, or tooth decay, or all kinds of just topics in that area. And we would spend 10 minutes educating people about these problems, and not selling, purely just adding value. And we put them on YouTube, we throw them on social. Not only does it educate the audience, and that they did a great job with that, but it also brings them to life. Like we get to see them as opposed to being the first time we see them when we get in the chair. People get to know the docs prior to walking in to the clinic or to the office. So I thought that, it was a huge success. We had tons of engagement and value with that. And they've been, just really well received. So I think that, giving out your expertise does not make someone think that they, can go somewhere else. What it does is it builds trust and credibility. So give it away. It's okay. Don't hide all your secrets and your value, but share that with people. And what that will do is make them want to essentially work with you more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the idea of like a more informed prospect, like it creates a more motivated buyer, right? So as more and more you inform your prospects of who you are, ring the bell, who you are and what you represent, what you value, then when they step into your office, in that case of a dental industry, they step in the office, they know you, they feel like they have that relationship built up and that trust in order to go through his services with you. Let's see. So I think about like some of our takeaways in terms of the mix of the digital content. We talked a little bit about the education bucket. What are some other ways that you can use education to highlight your business and what you do?
Let's see. I would say, I love using third party case studies. So, this sort of goes along the lines of testimonials, but it also educates at the same time. So, you might have a client that you helped work through a problem. We have some mortgage clients and so or real estate, and so common issues that home buyers may have, or individual home buyers, the rest of the home buyers would have. So, a real estate agent or a mortgage broker can get on video and say, I just worked with a client and they were concerned about locking in their rate and whether or not, they should do it now or wait. And so, let me answer that question. Or, our friend Bill, our real estate agent, was talking about, I think it was 1031 exchanges and what that is and how that works. And he had a client asking about that. And so he shared some valuable information around that. So anytime you have a question that comes up from a client or a customer, that might be good opportunities to educate and deliver value. And then, another one is being a curator of content. So I'll give you an example of that. In our world, it's social media. So every day we are rained upon us hundreds and hundreds of different valuable resources in the world of social media. It will be articles. I'll see infographics. I'll see videos, so much. And then what I do, or what we do, our team does, is take 2 or 3 of those pieces and share that on our social. So all the hundreds boil down to the 3 most relevant. And to me, that's of value to our audience. And you can do the same thing. So again, if you're in the mortgage field, if you're in the auto dealership field, if you're in, if you're landscape, doesn't matter, whatever industry you're in, you are constantly seeing valuable resources and tools out there. Only share the things that you deem worthy. And that in itself is of value. So curating content, sharing content, syndicating content from others is a way to use that education bucket.
I think most industries as well probably have some frequently asked questions. So, when you're thinking of some ways to educate your audience, think of like the top 3 to 5 questions that are always coming in. There's typically a pattern of questions that are coming in by your business and services. Take those and, use those as an opportunity to educate your audience as well. All right, so wrap it up for us. Let's go through the top points of being a squawking parrot versus the wise owl, those 3 P's and 3 E's. Anything else you got to add?
I would just say, remember those 2 birds. Try to, if you take one word away from this podcast today, it's value. I think that, with such a noisy climate that we're all in the world of our own world plus social media, getting above the noise is extremely difficult and challenging. And I will tell you that is, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It's really difficult to create consistent, compelling content on a daily and weekly basis. However, if you can try to solve problems, try to be a resource, try to add value. And that's not just education, but it can also be enriching by putting a smile on our face, making us think, inspiring us with an inspirational quote, whatever. Those all fall into the category of positively enriching our lives. And I think you are moving towards the wise owl as opposed to the squawking parrot.
Very nice. So there you have it. The social authentic principle of be less like a squawking parrot and more like a wise owl. And as you're going out there today, creating content, just keep asking yourself, am I creating consistent, compelling content? Am I adding value to my audience? And you will be successful in all your content creation adventures. Thanks so much. And we look forward to speaking with you guys again very soon. Bye for now. Thanks for listening. We're over here giving you a digital high five for completing another episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to take a screen grab and share it across your social media. Don't forget to tag us at Corey Perlman Speaks. I hope we can stay connected by following each other as we are excited to see more of your social media journey.